to do a quick correction, not how
Okay.
It's Jeannie.
Okay.
Jeannie Brooks.
Okay.
Before we start, I'll just say for 50 years, my father misspelled my name. Typical man. And there was an I missing from my name, so it was Jeannie, Gia, but not Jeannie.
Okay.
So by default, legally, I put the I in for my mother and on behalf of my mother, so I am pronounced Jeannie. Thank you. So we do nationality that big. So first of all, before I ask you to start the stipend, I'd just like to say I'm so truly honoured to be here. 5 years ago, I wrote in a journal, I want to be telling my story on a platform in front of women of colour, and here I am today. So I'm truly honoured. I've suffered with anxiety for many, many moons. I'm a legal advisor by trade, so you can imagine I'm in court every day, and internally but I still paralyzed. I've been on another event this morning and thought, missed all these beautiful ladies and what's been said, but just from the last two speakers that have come in the room and saw, honestly, I need to sit down because you've said all what I was going to say. But I'm going to do a disclaimer because my story is deep, but still arise. And so I'm just going to ask if the lights could be dimmed and if the first light is the video first, just take a moment just to watch the figures on the screen because it's very significant. Thank you.
Not before, not
very significant. It starts off with a baby. I'm that baby. It starts off with, then it moves on to different shades of women, young, old. If you notice, there's a man in there, just one. And his mouth and his face is covered. And then you see all these women that more or less are covered, because that's significant as well. And there's old ladies as well in there, of age. And what I say about that significance of the old women is when shame and stigma is attached, some go to the grave with it, some live with it, some mask it, some will talk about it, but it's taken me 40 years. So I'm going to just put a disclaimer here now, because I saw earlier on when I came in there was a young child, so I'm going to tweak how I express what I'm going to say next, so it's favourable for all in the room. I am a child of abuse. I was born into it, so I'm a product of abuse. I was also abused when I was 6 years old, and I was also abused sexually when I was 12 years old. Culturally, we don't talk about it. Culturally, there's an elephant in the back of the room. Culturally, it's under the table. So, my father is my great-grandfather. My sister was abused, and authorities came for us, took us out of the home. Mind I say, I never knew who my mother was, because obviously she was a child herself, and she and my great-grandmother fled the home when I was 3 months old, because even though the authorities didn't do anything back then, they allowed for my father to have me in the house. And so my mother and my great-grandmother made a pact and said, if it happens again, we'll leave you. And so that happened. My sister at the time would have been about 10. And she begged them to take her. And because she wasn't a child of theirs, but for my father in a different relationship, he had shipped her from from Jamaica to the UK. They said if they'd taken her with them, he would have come for us, which is what she says. So they left us. So in my childhood, I never knew who my mother was until I was 6 years old. I grew and lived in a 2.4 household, what I thought was with my father and my sister. At the age of 6 which is where my memory first took me to because of trauma. My father abused my sister, and so the authorities were called and they took us into care. Me and my sister was in care for 6 months in totality. Well, I was in care for 6 months in totality. My sister moved from the one home. I never ever saw her again. That was in 1976. So that's another trauma. And so the story goes on. When I became 12, I knew my mother at 6, but then she moved out, but my great-grandmother became my legal guardian. So she was the causal link that kept me in the family home instead of being fostered out into, a different care system. Mother, every time she looked at me, relived trauma every day. So mother was not very kind. And so we had a very traumatic and turmoil relationship until I was probably in my 30s. And when life gets in the way and you finalise and see what things are, forgiveness. I forgave my mom. Many would say, don't do that. How could you do that? After all what she did to you. She was a victim too, and she was a survivor too. And when you're a child, you don't understand that. but when you're an adult and you come to realization, but trust me, I didn't come to full realization until I turned 50. So I became a fearful achiever and did a lot of things, which I shall come on to. But what I want to say is, in every darkness, there is light. And there's divine intervention that you never know is walking with you in parallel, which I didn't know until I came to write my book, which is called I Am the Shame. I am no longer the shame, because I see my truth and I know this was my purpose and my calling, and I know I had to go through what I had to go through. No one should have to go through it, and this is where some of us have to be that victim, that survivor, to support others and to enable many more not to be in that position. So, the next slide, please. So, who am I? I'm going to leave the top one. I am Trinity. I am me, myself, and I. Me. I am a daughter, a mother, a wife, a sister, a friend. I am a fearful achiever, a solicitor, an author, public speaker, company director, chief financial officer, mental health first aider, visualization coach, mentor and school advocate. Teach them young. Community member, dynamic principal, legal and casework manager with a track record of success and innovation. The two I left out was the top one. I am a survivor. I am so much more than my abuser. Okay, next slide. So as I said, this is the book I wrote. And in this book, I did a lot of research. I was a criminal defense lawyer for 21 years. I represented perpetrators like my father, like my abuser, my mom's partners, until I went into therapy. Someone who was all those things that I said I was, didn't recognize or had the knowledge or the awareness that I was a victim and that I'm a survivor, because I was blocked mentally. And sometimes when trauma hits you, your body takes the fall. So in my book is in memory of one of my sisters. Some of you may know who she is. She went to Dubai for her 40th birthday. She never came back. She was my inspiration. She had an OBE. She helped with Windrush. She worked for the Home Office. And sometimes I struggle with this, but I've sat in it for a bit, but I'm not gonna own it and I'm not gonna hold it. She went away with Sisters of Faith. 6 of them came back. She did not. And I was so angry with the Creator and the universe for taking my little sister in that way when she had so much things to do. And I'd only got to 6 chapters in my book and she dreamt me. But she was a faith warrior. She said, "Sis, you better finish that book. You better finish that book." I dreamt her twice, and within 8 weeks, I finished that book. Because my sister told me to. So even in death, as they say in the colour purple, as we are here representing today, nothing but death can keep her from me. Mm-hmm. Next slide, please. So in my book, I talked about all my traumas, what I'd gone through. I held everything for 40 years. I didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it. Family knew about it. People treated me differently. Family treated me unfavorably because they all knew I was the product of that. But God wasn't sleeping. In my book, He gave me the power to heal. But not only to heal, to tell my story of how I overcame, how I went on recovery, how I had therapy. And then at the end of the book, I was able to reflect this side. Self-compassion, self-assured, self-sustained, self-help, self-care, self-healing, self-recovery, self-control, but most of all, self-stoic. So stoicism is me being in the present, in the moment. You can't change what happened in the past. Some of us aren't promised tomorrow, like my sister.